Okay, so welcome back. Thank you for coming, to everyone who made the live and to everyone who's watching the replay. I have no extra special questions to answer this time. So I'm just going to remind anyone, if this happened to be the first one you're watching, then there's the very first video, which there will be a link to below. The first 10 minutes are an introduction to the kind of system I'm using and the terms I'm using. So if you find this very confusing, it might be worthwhile to go back and watch that. And we're going to jump right into the year of the rabbit. Sorry, unless anyone has any questions now or that they have not asked before. Brilliant. Okay, so the year of the rabbit is in some ways very similar to the year of the tiger, and in some ways very, very different. So the main energy of the rabbit, like the tiger, is the energy of metal. That's the energy that represents values and clarity and boundaries and the ability to decide things and the ability to appreciate and to value things, to see the good in things, to see what's not necessary. And because the tiger is a yang year, which is a year where the energy is very outwardly focused and has a very strong feeling. The energy of that year is seeking to go out and find more energy that it can kind of take over or insert itself into. So that metal energy was given a predator for its metaphor. So the tiger projects her clarity and her ability to see what belongs and what doesn't belong all over the place and can be a little hard to live with sometimes, a little bit bitchy. Yes, I am a tiger, by the way. And the rabbit, the year of the rabbit is a yin year. That's a year where the energy is more accepting and inviting of outside influences coming in. And so the metal, the yin metal, the metal of this rabbit, actually the metal isn't yin, but whatever, that's so far beyond this class. But the combination of the metal with the yin year, with the accepting, with the opening, with the inviting in, means that rabbits, represented by this prey animal, are very, very focused on looking for threats and looking for things that are going to try and penetrate their boundaries, are going to violate their values, are going to attempt to harm them or things that they find important, things that they value, things that they appreciate. And so a tiger is all about offense, not necessarily like going out and attacking things, but tigers explore. Tigers are adventurous. Tigers leap before they look. Tigers do what my kitten does, and they're like, I'm sure that I can jump to the top of the shower curtain. I'm sure I can jump to the top of the shower curtain this time. Right, this time I'm going to make it. I'm going to get to the top of the shower curtain and I'm going to hang on the rod. Eventually she did. She likes to sit on top of the rod around the shower, like that holds up the shower curtain. And apparently you get a great view of pigeons out the bathroom window from there. Rabbits create their den, and that's their home, and that's their safe place, and that's where they want to be. And they leave their den when they have to, but they don't want to. A tiger, you put them in one place and you tell them don't leave, they're going to go crazy, like we all did during COVID. Rabbits want to have their safe, secure home. They don't want to have to leave. They don't mind like going out and exploring a little bit on their terms, but they want that place of safety. And all right, I guess I'm just jumping to the end at this point. And one of the reasons for that is because the rabbit's supporting energy, that's the energy that they need in order to keep them balanced, in order to let them grow and develop and be themselves and be their best healthy rabbit selves and live their best rabbit lives, is also metal. So what they can give to the world around them is this clarity and this ability to value things, this ability to set boundaries, to see what's right and wrong. And what they need to get from the world is that same thing. They need boundaries. They need people to be clear about what they want from them. They need people to tell the truth. They need people to be fair. And then one of the things that is part and parcel to the rabbit, to the metal energy, that I don't know if it's often seen as something that would go together in Western psychology, but this ability to see what's right and wrong and where my boundary lies, this sense of clarity, which gives us the ability to say, to organize things, to place things in order, to prioritize things, to say what goes here and what goes there. All of that is the ability to find value in things, right? When I draw a border, I'm drawing a border between what I value and what I don't want to be part of my territory. If I make a decision, I'm saying, I am deciding that this is more valuable than that. This is better than that. If I have a sense of fair play, it's because I want everyone to get roughly equal value out of what's happening. And what that means is that this metal energy is the energy that has the capacity for gratitude and appreciation. It's the ability to see the good in things, to find value in things. And that's what rabbits need to get from their environment. It's what they give to their environment. It's also what they need to get from their environment. And so rabbits have a great need to be valued and appreciated, not in a narcissistic way, not in an unhealthy way, but completely in a, they go around all the time appreciating others. And when they don't feel that they get any of that back, then they feel how much they appreciate a person they're in a relationship with. If they don't feel the other person appreciates them, because they are they're a prey animal, because they're always looking for the signs that something's wrong, then they might start to undervalue themselves. Or alternatively to say, oh, obviously you don't get me, you're not actually as good as I thought you were, maybe we're not meant to be together. Or trying to avoid the relationship in some other way. And so when we're looking at rabbits, what they give to their environment is this appreciation, value, clarity, decision-making, and so on. And they do this in order, or through, maybe it's the other way, it's the other way around, through actually creating a lot of space for change and for creativity and for growth. Because when you really value something and you want it to develop into something better, then you are kind of intrinsically drawn into helping to encourage its growth. So you can think of it using the metaphor of the rabbit, like we say in the year of the rabbit. The rabbits go around and they dig and they aerate the soil, and they fertilize the soil. They move seeds from one place to another. When they dig their warrens and then they move out and the soil shifts, then they create space for water to get in and nourish roots. And so rabbits, they create a lot of space for growth and for change and for development just through what they do. And so they can often end up looking very, I don't know, trying to think of a good word, kind of square, kind of like following the rules, orderly routine. They can also end up looking kind of the opposite, like leaving a mess everywhere they go, just being so focused on one thing that they forget other things. So like they do an amazing job of putting together a great meal for you, but they leave water and all over the kitchen floor and scraps of food in the sink. And so there's this tension within the rabbit between the metal, which is all about orderliness and prioritizing and boundaries and clarity, and the wood energy, which is the growth and the creativity and the change and the development. And so what you'll often end up with rabbits also is kind of the sense of extremes, that they might be very, very orderly. They might have the same schedule for months at a time. And then they're like, oh, I'm done with that schedule. That didn't work. I'm going to do something else. Now I exercise at night. And so they can kind of end up at too square. I don't know why this like word is in my head, but like too routine, too square, too boring, and they have to burst free. And if you ever seen a rabbit try and get away from someone who's holding it, it's like a little furry explosion. It's just like, ah! And then off they run. And then they go off and they build a new burrow, just like the old burrow. And then they like rebuild their routines. But sometimes when life compresses them too much, you get this counterintuitive explosion of this movement and this change, and then they'll end up rebuilding their burrow, and then they'll get on. So, but rabbits, and they'll just get on with their lives. So rabbits can have this like, they can change in fits and starts, or like jumping from one level to the other instead of having a slow, gradual process of development. They can have a great need for a feeling of security and safety, because they have that prey aspect to them. They have that sense that the world is out to eat me. And so they have maybe a greater need for a feeling of material safety than some of the other animals. Rabbits tend to have savings accounts. They tend to have good pension funds. This is like a very, very superficial, and obviously people react to their environment in different ways, but rabbits tend to be more conservative and more concerned with protecting themselves, as opposed to say tigers, who are kind of like just like the rat and the ox make a pair where they have some similarities, some things that are very different. The rabbit and the tiger also make a pair where they have like some things are identical and some things that are opposite. And so as they say about tigers, tigers never have savings unless their spouse makes them, because there's always something better that money could be doing than sitting in a bank account. It also says, like the texts say, that tigers are lucky with money because they invest in so many different things that they tend to strike something that works for them and that has a payoff. And then rabbits are kind of the opposite in a way. Rabbits totally see the value of money, and so they want to have enough. And they're not necessarily greedy. They won't necessarily work themselves into the grave just building up money to put into a bank account, but they're going to make sure that they have their security blanket, their security fund. Totally Freudian slip there. And yeah, and so that is, in a way, sometimes when you have a balance of energies like this, where the energy that someone creates and the energy that someone needs to receive are the same, it can be kind of hard to see which one of these a certain behavior is an expression of. Like, do they have that security blanket, that security fund, because they need to create a sense of value and safety, or do they have it because they need to get a sense of value and safety? And so rabbits maybe more than some other signs, because there are a couple signs, not really. sorry, I'm now blanking on like all the other zodiac signs, but I'm not sure that there is another sign where what they need to get is exactly what the energy that they give in a relationship. I don't want to stop and look that up now, but I will get back to you on that. Yeah, so rabbits kind of live in this circle, in this environment, which is all about that metal energy, that value, an ability to value, boundary, safety, security, clarity, blah, 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 punctuated by these explosions of growth and change and developing and imagining. So rabbits tend to be very good at getting, I don't want to say getting by. Rabbits, like if you put them in a job, they'll tend to do the job well because they appreciate that it's good to have a stable job, it's good to have an income, it's good to have a paycheck, it's good for people to like you. And in pretty much any social, relatively stable, benign social circumstance, they'll do all right. When rabbits feel threatened, when rabbits feel unsafe, they are the most vicious, dirty fighters on the planet. You can't see on the Zoom camera, but my parents raised rabbits when I was a kid. I was responsible for feeding and grooming some of them. And I have scars all down my arm from one time a rabbit did not like the way I opened the door to his cage. They are vicious because they know their only chance is to hurt you bad enough that you drop them and they run off because they are so vulnerable. They know themselves to be vulnerable. Whether they really are, I'm talking about the people now, not the animals, more vulnerable than everyone else, they feel themselves to be that way, and therefore they are emotionally. It's just like, if you feel that anyone can hurt you, then anyone can hurt you. And so a rabbit who feels threatened can be very hurtful to the people around them. They can try and drive people away. They can try and they'll go for the soft underbelly. If they know how to get under your skin, they will. And it doesn't come from a place of being a bad person or a mean person or wanting to hurt you. It's because they are so scared that they need to defend them. They feel like they need to defend themselves in any way possible. And they feel so vulnerable. They feel that everyone else is bigger than they are. Everyone else can hurt them more than they can stand. And so they feel this need to defend themselves to the fullest extent possible. And I really think that does have something to do with this need and this connection to the concept of valuing things. Like they need others to value them, and they value others so much that if you walk up to a tiger and say, oh, you're an idiot, then they might rip your face off and they might just laugh at you and okay, like whatever, you're clearly an idiot, so why should I care what you think? But because rabbits have both this yin energy of accepting other energy and welcoming other energy into them, and this great ability to value and to look for the right and the good in everything that's told to them, they can take things very, very deeply to heart. So what rabbits need from their environment is they need to feel secure and safe, both materially and emotionally, verbally, mentally. They need to be valued, just like we all do, but they need to be told. Like you have to be sure to tell your rabbits how much you appreciate them, how much you value them, how good they are at something, and help them see their own value. Because one of the things about having this ability to see things clearly and to see the positive and to see the negative and to see what shouldn't be there, and then to take energy like into yourself and be looking inward, is you can get really, really down on yourself. Like you can see the negative, they can see the negative in themselves much more clearly than other people can. They can see the positives too, but as human beings, we are predisposed to pay more attention to negative influences than positive ones, because the negative ones might kill you, and that's just evolution. You pay attention to positive, negative things, then you got eaten. So if you have a rabbit in your life, it's really important to tell them the truth. You know, I was talking to someone who has a son, I don't remember when the year of the rabbit was. We're now tigers. I don't remember how old her son is, but it was a couple of years ago. But I told her, like, you can never say something to him like, if you don't stop that right now, I'm leaving you in this grocery store. Like, you know, you can't lie to him like that, because he needs to be able to trust every word you say. And he needs to know that his assessment of you is correct, right? Because his superpower is the ability to look at you and size you up and appreciate everything that comes out of you. And then if you turn out to be a liar, he thought, you know, you're his mom, you're the best person in the world, and then it turns out you're a liar, then you've not only damaged his perception of you, you've damaged his whole sense of self, because, you know, what he is someone who can tell if you're a good person or not, if you're telling the truth or not, if you'll play fair with him or not. So sorry, I've talked for a really long time. Any questions so far?
Two.
Yes.
One is, what are the years? What are the years of the birthdays?
Yes, they're in the Facebook group and in like a ton of emails that you have gotten. And I did not
I'm
actually,
sorry.
no, it's fine, it's not. And I usually put them in the chat at the beginning of the
Yes.
things, but I forgot. So 1 second. So I'm not going to give you the exact dates. I'm just going to read off years of the rabbit, and I can give you the exact dates in a minute if you want. So 75, 87, 99, 2011. Next year will be the year of the rabbit. Going back earlier, 1963, 1951, 1939, 1927.
Okay, and you said 1999.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you were just talking about the rabbit. Okay, now I've gotten confused on my question. It was kind of a rabbit-tiger relationship thing. Mm-hmm. That, you know, that the rabbit but now I can't remember what it was. So I'm sorry.
Sorry. Well, if you want to watch the replay, it comes to you.
Okay, right.
You can let me know. Something. I said that rabbits and tigers have energy in common, and they also have some things that are the opposite. I said that tigers don't necessarily pay too much attention to what other people think of them.
That was it.
Yes.
Okay, that was it, because you were talking about how rabbits really cared. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to remember if that was true for tigers, but no.
No. Tigers have the capacity to provide caring to other people. So like if you're someone who really cares what other people think about you, then a tiger is a very good person. If they do have a high opinion of you, then they can make you feel it. But tigers have about as little interest in what other people think of them as you can get, which is not no interest. Like, we're human beings, we're designed to live in groups. Human beings who are isolated from their communities usually died. Like, we all have these very strong instincts for social connection and to form bonds with others, and we want to be liked. But compared to the other animals, tigers have much less interest in what other people think about them.
Gotcha.
So for example, tigers will generally it's not necessarily, it's not, there's also cultural things, and there's different animals that react in different ways. There's different zodiac animals, I mean, that react in different ways, different things. But like if someone walks into, I don't know, some event where most people are dressed formally, wearing a pair of skinny jeans and like a t-shirt with something printed on it and a ponytail, and convinced that they're fabulous, it might be a tiger. And everyone else will see that they're fabulous, because our charisma has so much more to do with our confidence than with anything else. A rabbit would not dream of doing that unless, you could, due to things that have nothing to do with your zodiac sign, be someone who doesn't care about clothing, or who doesn't notice whether you're, if you're on the autism spectrum, you might not realize that clothing is supposed to be a certain way and that you look different from anyone else. But a rabbit that understands the social rules is going to try and fit in, because they don't want to stand out, because standing out makes you vulnerable, and because you want people to like you so that they won't eat you. And also because they want people to feel comfortable, because they value people and they want them to be able to be their best. So a lot of things get mixed up in there, which is probably true of everyone. But again, because rabbits have this energy coming and going, it's like we can get so much more motivations, so many more motivations all packed up one on top of another. Yeah, so rabbits want people around them to be happy and comfortable. Like rabbits want to be happy and comfortable. They want people around them to be happy and comfortable. They want the best for the people around them. And so they're not going to go out of their way to make people uncomfortable. They're not going to go out of their way to rock the boat. Again, unless they feel threatened. And that threat can be, it can be to them, it can be to their job, it can be to their finances, to their family, to their home, anything that the rabbit perceives as a threat can be met with a reaction which seems out of proportion to others, and seems way out of proportion compared to a rabbit's normal behavior, because they're normally calm and quiet and don't rock the boat, and we want everyone to be happy. We once had, whenever the last year of the rabbit was, I was apparently in acupuncture school, or I just graduated, but I went to my acupuncture school for a year of the rabbit celebration for Chinese New Year. And one of our teachers brought a rabbit, which I think was his pet. And so he demonstrated, like, if the rabbit is in its little travel cage and it has everything it wants, it's so happy and fluffy, and it rolls over and shows you its tummy. And then if he pulls the rabbit out of the cage, the rabbit immediately contracts. And then if you poke the rabbit a little bit, then you're going to get, and then it turns and dives back into the cage, as opposed to the tiger, which goes for your face. Yeah, so the beauty of the rabbit really is that, again, that ability to appreciate and to value and to be grateful for the good, and also to see what shouldn't be there, what needs to be pruned or edited or cleared away in order to provide space for new growth. And they really are, they're great people. They're great zodiac animals. But yeah, they really, I don't want to say they need more support from their environment than other people. But I was trying to think, like, which zodiac animal needs more support from their environment than others, and I came up with a good argument for every single one. But I think what they need might be something that it's not necessarily easy for other people to see, even that it's something to be given, not just to give to them, like appreciating, oh, this is a person who needs honesty and clarity and fairness and and security, and for me to appreciate them. That I don't think that necessarily it doesn't all go together, like in Western culture. And it's not necessarily something we think of people needing. Like maybe we think of some people that want us to be honest, or it's good to be honest, but we don't necessarily think of honesty as something that people need from us in order to be their best selves. I'm watching people thinking.
I think there's an intuitive understanding of that, because I mean, look at, American culture, where the worst thing you could possibly do, like you might have killed somebody, but you lied to them. That's so much worse.
It is, but I think that it's looked at more from the perspective, like, that it's wrong. Okay, it's wrong for me to lie. We don't necessarily look at it from the perspective of it's harmful for him to be lied to. Like that damages him. We see it as damaging the relationship. We see it obviously as it damaging me as a whole individual, right? When I tell a lie, I'm not a whole individual. I don't have integrity. I've damaged my, right? I think it's more seen from that perspective, as opposed to like, because, and the reason I think that maybe we don't see the value in honesty as something you give to people is because so many people say to their kids, stop that, or I'm leaving you here. Or, someone posted on Facebook that their phone rang and they answered it, just like this random person answered the phone and at work, and he said, hello. And a woman said, hello, Santa Claus. I'm just telling you that my son isn't eating his green beans. And she whispered, sorry for bothering you, and hung up. The way people interact with their kids, who are the people that we most need to give what they need to grow, and to provide the support and this framework that will allow them to develop. A lot of people, and I think maybe a lot of cultures, don't see honesty and clarity as being a central value there, as witnessed, for example, by Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. And it's very common to be dishonest with children. I can't think of a better way to put it. In a lot of cultures, like I think most cultures that I know of have their fairy tales and their stories that, like, you wouldn't necessarily expect an adult to believe, but it's funny to see how long you can drag it out and have a children, or if it's not funny, it's sweet, it's cute, oh, it's so childish. Ursula Le Guin actually had a fascinating essay on this, on how completely wrong it is to lie to children, even if you think it's cute, if you think it's adding magic to life, because a child doesn't know anything. Like, a child is born literally knowing nothing except that they have to trust you in order to survive, and your job is to keep them alive. And they have to do what you say without question up until a certain age. And if you tell them don't touch the stove, they don't necessarily, they have to not touch the stove before they have all of the thought processes of things that are too hot hurt me. And sometimes the stove can be hot and sometimes it's not. And I can't always tell if it's hot by looking, so I have to never touch the stove. Like, they have to do what you say. And so when you tell them things like, don't go up in the attic because there's a bog monster, or, if you get out of bed after 9 p.m., then all of the chocolate in the house will vanish. Or, I'm sorry, but Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy or any of these cultural things, like, you're warping, and it really is, it's really exactly what she's saying, although in different words, like, you're warping their sense of you as someone who can be trusted, at the same time as their deepest instincts tell them they have to trust you in order to survive. So anyway, don't do that to rabbits.
I had a question, something that you said. There's a tension in one of the things that you said. On the one hand, rabbits want everyone to feel comfortable and safe and to feel their best.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, rabbits want people to be their best.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very unsafe, uncomfortable demand.
Yes, and
Rabbits- So is this just one of those things that is a conflict that's inside of the rabbit that they express, or is,
well,
yeah,
that's the same thing as they right, it's the same thing as like, they want their steady, regular routine until it starts to like, it constricts their growth too much. And then they have like the wild explosion. And that's normal for them.
Mhm.
That might not feel great for them, but that's normal for them. And so, yeah, so they have this conflict. They want everyone to be happy and peaceful and calm and living together, because that way it's safe, and that way it's secure, and that way everyone's going to be okay. And that way, like, we can all live in our cramped little rabbit warren without tearing each other's throats out. And then at some point, things have to change anyway. And then let's change them. Let's like make sure that we get to the next place of safety. Let's, I don't know, Watership Down. Horrific book for giving children nightmares, but like, the rabbits, they live in their happy little warren, and then the warren is destroyed, and they got to go find a new warren, and they set out on this mission, and they want to get to safety as soon as possible, but they totally get that getting to safety as soon as possible means doing all the scary, unsafe things as quickly as possible, and all at the same time. So yeah, yeah. So there is that tension there, and depending on, again, how healthy the rabbit is, how well balanced they are, how much support they get from the people outside of themselves, hopefully they can have their fits and starts in a relatively stable way of like, I've had the same exercise routine for 3 years. It's definitely time to shake it up. I'm signing up for a new class today. I actually know, I think 2 people who are rabbits, 1 for sure, and I think 2 who are like going along, minding their own business. COVID hit. I better start an online business, and I better teach other people how to start an online business, and maybe I'll set up an online networking group. And it's like, all right, the warren has been destroyed. We want to build our new warren. We're going to do everything necessary as quickly as possible, because that's the best and fastest way to get back to our safety and security.
Does that mean that they'll demand that, so that does mean that they will in fact demand that other people change on a dime. You were like this, now you should be like that, go. And anything less than that feels like rejection. Is that about right?
Except they don't see it that way, because for them, they're always just taking the next logical step.
Right.
It doesn't feel like a change, because it's like, it's like, is it a lobster? There's like this famous rabbinic metaphor about, I think it's lobsters, where like the lobster, he grows and he grows and he grows until the shell is too tight. And then it's obviously a more recent rabbinic metaphor since we learned about how lobsters grow, but and then his shell is too tight, and then he sheds his shell, and then he's like a sad, pathetic little soft, floppy thing, and anything can eat him, so he has to stay hidden. And then his new shell hardens, but it's too big, so he's kind of wobbling around, and then he grows a bit until his shell fits, then he's living his happy lobster life. And look, if you look at it from the outside, it's like, oh, he's a perfectly happy lobster, and then he all of a sudden stepped out of his shell, and now he's a perfectly happy lobster, and then he ripped off his shell. But from the lobster's perspective, this is just how life works. He's just always a growing lobster, getting bigger and better, and he doesn't see the dramatic change necessarily as the dramatic change it looks like from the outside, because from his point of view, it's just the next step in a perfectly normal pattern of growth. So yeah, so if you're married to a rabbit, it might be like every couple of years we do something different now. Again, hopefully not. Hopefully, if they have a supportive environment, then if they don't feel like they need to put so much effort into their own armor, then it's not going to be as big an explosion when they take the armor off in order to grow. It's like the harder you build your armor, the more force you have to put into throwing it off when it's time to grow and step into the bigger suit of armor. So the more safe and secure they feel, the more flexible their armor can be, the more gentle the growth can be. Okay, any other questions? All right, cool. Yeah, basically, that's what I had to say about rabbits.
Okay. Oh, it's very interesting. And very interesting for me because you told me I have no metal. So I'm listening to this going, okay, this is all the stuff I don't have. All right, very interesting.
Yes, this is why it takes you an hour to choose what to eat in a restaurant. You want to emotionally connect with each dish. And you don't want to make them feel bad by prioritizing some over others.
Okay, I'm gonna mute now.
I'm sorry about it. I should have stopped the recording before saying that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm thinking we want to like
I'm
turn off
stopping the recording now. Sorry, everyone. Have a great week. And next time we will be talking about dragons.
Cool.
I was once in a class, it was an intro class to just the concept of the 12 animals. And obviously someone raised their hand and asked our teacher, but what's the best animal? And our teacher went, tigers. Our teacher was a tiger, in case that wasn't obvious. And then someone else raised their hand and said, but I thought the Chinese thought that dragons are the best. Like, aren't dragons like supernaturally good? And he went, yeah, dragons are made up. They're not an animal. Tigers are the best animal because they're an animal. Next time we'll be talking about the amazingly supernatural dragons. And until then, have a great week.